So my title is intentionally provocative. Consumers have no need for 6G, but the next wave of industrial transformation cannot live without it. My name's Andy Jones. For those I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, I've been seen both sides of the industry in terms of the buy side and the supply side. I worked at Vodafone, where I was responsible for network architecture and strategy, and 20 years at Vodafone gave way to what's been now 16 years working as an advisor and a consultant, mostly up and down the supply chain of the telecom industry. A little bit of work with industry bodies and some with government as well, but the vast majority of my work's been with innovative startup and scale-up companies, roughly about 65 companies I've worked with in some kind of advisory or consulting capacity. So that's the kind of two sides of the market perspective that I'm sort of bringing. So my message, and it's great that we have Mike's sort of reminding us that it's the golden anniversary of punk. Can you believe that? And as in the mid-70s, prog gave way to punk, and Britain was at the heart of that, with a huge influence on the musical scene at the time. Equally now, as we look towards 6G from a vantage point of 5G, UK can again rise to the forefront of innovation and real value creation. So I liked as well, Mike's message was nuanced. He said it was not just about speed and latency, it's about more nuanced things, and it's not necessarily the eternal next G revolution. It can be more incremental and evolutionary, and that chimes with what Catherine was also saying about not necessarily waiting for all of the ducks to line up so that you can do the huge 6G switch on. And also she said that it's not necessarily all about those MNO macro networks, that there's more to advanced connectivity than that, and there's value to be created there, and there's unfinished business in that space as well. So, my message is that we can actually chime a harmonious note amongst the 6G anarchy. One way of thinking about the 6G anarchy is that it is this massive smorgasbord of ideas. Everybody who calls himself a telecom technologist has got their favorite little innovation to throw into the melting pot to be considered to be a key enabling 6G technology, whether you want essential patents or whatever your motive. There's no shortage of opinions, that's for sure. So how can we actually find some harmonious tunes to be played amongst this dissonance and anarchy? So what exactly is the point with 6G? I don't know about you, but I'm not relishing the idea of another succession of smiling CEOs of mobile network operators with their speed test selfies saying we used to do a gig on 5G and we can do 2 gig. But you see, the problem is we still have, I don't know, last time I checked, 1 pair of eyes, 1 pair of ears. The resolution of a screen is what it is. 4K video is already a higher pixel density than the screen, and certainly my retina. So what are we doing when we reduce this reductionist approach where the next G is about doubling the gigabits per second? It's just crazy, and we need to get off that, that gravy train. And really, this more nuanced approach to what 6G needs to be is where it needs to be heading. So Meanwhile, while the consumer doesn't necessarily need that particular change, they certainly need perfect coverage everywhere they want to live and work, and they certainly need to have access to technologies, whatever their income and wherever they live in the country. But in the meantime, there's industry who've been disappointed time and time again by wireless. You know, industries looked at Wi-Fi 20 years ago. They looked at 3G, 4G, and 5G promises in subsequent sort of eras, and pretty much many of them, the most critical of those industries said, nope, it's just not good enough. Reliability, the UR of URLLC, it's neglected. You ask any standards guy what URLLC is about, it tends to be about low latency, it tends to be about time-sensitive networking, sub 1 millisecond. And if you say, well, what about the UR? Oh, well, it's about the probability of getting less than 1 millisecond. No, it's about the reliability of the infrastructure. It's a broader composite KPI that you need to measure there. It's about mean time between failures, mean time to restore, and about solving coverage holes in cluttered spaces like a factory or a warehouse, where you have deep fading behind a rack and your robot is disconnected. That's the kind of problem that we need to be solving. It's the more nuanced problem. So let's take a look at why 5G failed to deliver ultra-reliable. So 5G retains the cellular paradigm. Of course it does. It's a cellular network. And when you do a microscopic version in a factory or a warehouse, a private 5G network, those macro cells become these small cells. And they inherit the same problems, and they take the same teams and armies of experts and tools to manage, not just on day one, but when things change subsequently. And you get fundamental problems which don't go away. So you get interference and you get handover issues. And those kill Industry 5.0 use cases like autonomous, automated factories and warehouses. It actually becomes disastrous for that next wave of automation. The actual request is 99.999% availability, and the stated achievements of self-professed achievements of MNOs with network slicing and private 5G networks of today are about 99.97 and 99.99 respectively. So an order of magnitude less than what's being requested. There is a candidate 6G technology on the smorgasbord. It's called cell-free distributed massive MIMO. It actually questions whether we continue with a cellular paradigm and instead beamforms a bubble of capacity and coverage onto a user and follows that user around. There are no rigid cells anymore. There's a little bubble and it follows you. That's the kind of idea with cell-free massive MIMO. Now, that's considered to be quite ambitious even amongst the 6G smorgasbord of technologies. In fact, for macro networks, for national MNO networks, it's considered to be maybe even phase 2 or 3, you know, sort of standardized and implemented in the mid-2030s. But actually, we have innovation coming out of universities here in the UK that is able to do this in a more controlled and contained environment of a factory or a warehouse, and able to do it now. Able to do it with 5G user equipment. So you're not waiting for the whole kind of circus of 6G to arrive. You can actually start to innovate in a more asynchronous fashion rather than all of us lining up for the great big 10-year event of 6G arriving. So we actually have a great example of a spin-out that will come out of the University of York as a result of being part of a UK, an Innovate UK iCure program. I've been privileged to be part of that journey. So having been part of that for the last 6 months, advising, I've never once been tempted in 16 years, 65 startups, to actually go all in, jump on board, join the management team, and make it happen. This one's different. This one has tempted me severely. So that's been an interesting conversation back at the ranch. My wife and business partner is saying, what? You're doing what? You have a nice hedging your bets across 4 or 5 clients, advising them. That's what we've done for 16 years, and you want to become the CTO of a startup from York University. Okay, what are you doing? Well, I've just had to say, trust me, 35 years of instinct tells me this is a game changer. So enough selling. The idea is that we can, with a technology like this, deliver that promise of 99.999. The reason is, not only is there never one radio serving you, there's always multiple, but you can spread those out around a factory or a warehouse. You can have them firing up and down the canyons between racks in one of those warehouses. You can give, for those familiar with the art, a massive spatial diversity gain by using small cells, not MIMO panels on a macro tower, to become your array for doing multi-user, cell-free, distributed Massive MIMO. This is an incredible opportunity for us in the UK. We've seen just a dearth of audacious startups in the telecom space. No VCs want to go near them. We really haven't seen many. I mean, you know, name one if you can that's got such an ambitious plan as this. There are definitely subsystem players who've done very, very well. This is a full working system that will be the advanced connectivity underpinning factory automation for Industry 5.0. And the fact it works with 5G UEs today, that was the killer for me when I visited the lab in York and saw a completely standard, non-jailbroken 5G smartphone move across the lab, and a bubble of capacity and coverage was placed on it and followed it. Recruiting different radio resources on its way. It's an amazing capability. Now, I've said, you can see that I'm excited. I think it's a very, very good news story. It's a very good news story for the UK industry. It's a genuine 6G gem, deployable now to rescue the failed mission of 5G that hasn't delivered an industrial transformation. It's very good news for industries who've wanted to go wireless for decades and couldn't live with the SLA that was on offer previously. It's also very good news for telecom technologists, like many of you, and certainly like me, for long-time advocates of small cells, some of those in the room I know, for O-RAN evangelists, and for a newer breed of AI-RAN fanboys and fangirls. You know who you are. And while startups and scale-ups will continue to run out of oxygen waiting for O-RAN adoption amongst the genuine brownfield barriers, they are really tricky barriers. And though the disingenuous conservative procurement behaviors, I must say, as well, of mainstream MNO RAN market, we can break free of that and transcend all of that. But we leverage every aspect of O-RAN to build that architecture. And then we sprinkle the cell-free magic on top in a very AI-RAN fashion. look, on a note of realism, of course, we have new stakeholders to satisfy. Mike pointed out the cybersecurity question. We have to convince CISOs of enterprise customers who are responsible for their enterprise IT and OT infrastructures. We have to demonstrate a maturity and a compatibility with their existing processes and tools and frameworks. But we're finding that we actually slot in neatly to an existing go-to-market ecosystem, and that these vital aspects have many of them have been solved already. And we will be offering up these end-to-end solutions for UKTL to do their penetration testing and try to break it, and we'll obviously iterate as we find out what needs to be fine-tuned. So then, just to conclude, I would really just say, if this has been refreshing, been interesting, been exciting for you, if you'd like to know more, please catch me afterwards, ping me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share some more information, including Robustient is the name of the startup. I'll share with you the pitch deck. We're currently in pre-seed fundraising. And I'll share with you the testbed white paper from York, that if you have a read of that, I think you'll know why I was blown away with what I discovered there. So that's really my message for today. It's a little bit of punk 6G in building on a prog rock foundation with everything we've done with 5G, and it's something that doesn't need to wait for everyone else in the ecosystem. It's something that the UK can take advantage of right now. Thank you very much indeed.